Fortune cookie.
See what this says. Smiling often can make you look and feel younger.
There you go. So you're going to use that at the end. Thank you for making the time to join us today. I'm sure you're busy at the cellar preparing for the next harvest. But we appreciate you joining us for our second installment of Faces of Summer 2022. Welcome. Or should I say welcome when this is your home? You should be welcoming me.
Yes, welcome to Nederburg, and thank you for this experience and for having me on the video clip. And yeah, I'm hoping we're going to have a lot of fun together today.
Absolutely, I can't wait. Right, who's we, by the way? Tell me a little bit about you. When did the wine bug bite, and how did it eventually lead to Nederburg?
Okay, yes, so we are sitting at the lovely Nederburg homestead in Paarl today on a scorcher of a day. We're expecting 36 degrees Celsius outside. And yes, I myself am Zinaschke Steyn. I take care of all of the red wines at Nederburg. And our team basically consists of Samuel Fuyuni is the cellar master, myself and my assistant red winemaker Amelia Prince taking care of the reds, and Peter Badenhorst and Jamie Williams taking care of the whites. I think you actually had her on 2 years ago, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
Yes, so yes, like I mentioned, I take care of all of the red wines at Nederburg. And what is interesting to note about me is that I actually come from the Transvaal, Northwest Province. Was born and bred in Klerksdorp, of all places. So we didn't actually drink any wine up there. It was mostly beer and brandy.
Right.
And yeah, life just journeys with one sometimes. So we had a lot of holidays in the Western Cape. My aunt and uncle lived in Worcester. And I actually wanted to become a brandy distiller, to be honest.
Yeah, I heard that.
So I enrolled to study chemical engineering at the Stellenbosch University, but unfortunately after we moved to Worcester after I matriculated, things didn't work out as planned. But God often has other plans for one, better plans than you have anticipated for yourselves. So yes, I took a 2-year gap, and during that time toured a bit of the winelands and fell in love with the concept of winemaking, getting your hands dirty, taking a raw product and you can literally turn wine into anything. Okay, yes, and in terms of accolades for a brand like Nederburg, so most South Africans think of us as a big volume brand.
Right.
Which we are.
Right.
Yes, we are that. We do the Lyric and the Steyn and the Baron, which are quite big volumes of wines.
Right.
But just testament to the quality that we put out, like something that I want to highlight especially, and we'll be tasting the new vintage of the Baron later, is the fact that a big blend like the Nederburg Baron was rated under the top 10 red blends in South Africa by Wine Mag, the Prescient Red Blend report for 2022.
92 points, right?
92 points out of 100.
Wow.
So we are very, very proud of that. And I think accolades like that, and even scoring a silver on our Wine Masters cab at Drinks Business Global, I think.
Yes.
Yo, there's such a lot of accolades. I can't always remember all of them off by heart.
I can imagine.
But
it's a good thing, right?
Yes. So the philosophy of our red wine team is always to respect the fruit. We work with 14 different coopers when we do our wood selections in terms of barrel maturation and oak maturation. And the onus is always to focus on balance. You want your fruit to be the star of the show, but the wood must play a supporting role.
Right.
Let's just add that little bit of something. So that is always what we look out for.
Beautiful way of saying it. Yeah. Oh, wow. What have you brought for us today?
Okay, so today, to start off with, I brought along the Nederburg Heritage Heroes Ankerman Chenin Blanc.
Right.
So this wine is actually very special for a number of reasons. Number one, the fruit is sourced from vines that are classified as old vines. So the fruit comes from two different blocks. The one is in Achterpaal and the one is in Swartland. And the vines are respectively 57 and 58 years old, if I remember correctly. So it's also bush vines, so there's a lot of concentration of fruit. And then the second part, the vinification of this is also quite interesting, because this wine is made in 3 different portions during fermentation. So one part is fermented in your conventional stainless steel tanks to retain that freshness. A second part is matured or fermented and matured in French oak barrels, new and older barrels. And the third part is done in clay amphoras, which adds a little bit of linearity and minerality to the blend.
Right.
So it ultimately results in a very complex layered style of wine. And our Heritage Heroes wines, we have 3 wines in that range, and all of them are basically gourmet style wines. So it's made to be paired with something.
Oh, fantastic. And during fermentation, there is no malolactic, just to keep the fruit.
Yes. And then afterwards, Peter also leaves this on the fine leaves for about 9 months. They stir that up, I think, once a month, just to add that little bit of creaminess and complexity to the palate.
That's right. What I also like about it is the label is fantastic. The new label is fantastic. The previous one was more classic, a typical good wine, classic wine label. This one is far much better. I think it's more modern. And where did you get that inspiration from?
Yeah, I think this label is a very good depiction of what this wine or whom this wine was made for. So the Heritage Heroes range commemorate basically the legends, some of the legends that played a part in building this legacy that is Nederburg today. So on this label you will see an old vine with an anchor, the shadow of an anchor coming up, being the anchorman, and this was, I think this is a beautiful depiction. And this was made to commemorate the anchorman of Nederburg, Philippus Wolfhard. He bought this farm in 1791 on December the 1st, and he planted Chenin Blanc as the first vineyards to make wine.
There's always history. There's always history. Right, let's pour.
Okay.
Thank you. Shall I hold one for you?
Yes, please.
Ooh, beautiful color. My goodness. Have you got it?
Yes, got it. Let me put that there.
Screw cap. Right. Beautiful color. Tell us more.
Okay, yes, I think I pretty much described the wine making process already. So what's left to do is basically the tasting. And like I mentioned earlier, this is made to be a complex layered style of wine. So on the nose you'll pick up a lot of that citrus notes, orange blossom coming through, with a subtle hint of that oak spice of the barrels in which the wine was matured.
Yeah. I always pick up the slight part of wood, which is vanilla, right there, always. It's fantastic.
And on the palate, definitely once again, good balance of fruit, bright yellow fruits coming through on the palate, that creaminess, a little bit of minerality at the back. Everything's just in perfect balance, and I personally like to pair this on a Friday evening when we are making some steer-style chicken fillet burgers.
Right.
With potato wedges. This goes quite well.
Beautiful. Mine is almost finished. Cheers.
Cheers.
To my personal favorite. Let's go. Cabernet Sauvignon, the cornerstone of Nederburg.
Nederburg actually caters for literally every palate out there, every palate and every pocket out there. So we have our Barons and we have our Duet and our Lyric and our Steyn for your everyday wine drinker. And then the Wine Masters range, the Double Barrel Reserve, Manor House, and that builds up to our ultra premium private bin range. So we specialize in cab. So we'd make 2 cabs in this range. The one is the private bin 2 Centuries, and then the one that we will be tasting today, the private bin R163.
What does the R mean?
So there are actually quite a few stories behind where this name came from, but I think the one that I've heard that sounds the most legit is the fact that that was the clone of the Cabernet Sauvignon grapes when they started producing this wine in 1975, if I remember.
Stock 1, there you go. That makes sense, yes. Okay, finally, I learned something beautiful today. There you go.
Yes, so this wine is very, very special for us. We have a very specific site in the Paarl region against the Simonsburg, Simonium area.
Yes.
The block is grown on specific slopes which are harvested at different times during the season.
Hand harvest, of course.
Yes, all hand harvested, and then also very deep decomposed granite soils. The block was planted in the year 2000, so it's about 22 years old. Low yielding, obviously,
yes,
which leads to very intense concentrated fruit. So.
Fantastic. Shall we see the color? Wow. Almost purple. One for you?
Yes, please.
There you go. You can put it in front. There's your glass.
Yes, so in terms of winemaking, like I said earlier, all hand harvested, very small volumes. So we have a beautiful playground in the cellar where I am able to keep certain parcels apart, also different fermentation techniques within the red wine cellar. So we have everything from also your conventional stainless steel fermentation vessels with automatic pump overs to open punch downs.
Right.
We have 1-ton tubs which we use for these, so that are a little bit of elbow grease, getting your hands physically dirty in the cellar with a small monkey press. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier also as well, this block is harvested at different periods during the season. Because of the slopes, it ripens at different times.
Right.
So all these parcels are kept separately. 1-ton tubs, we do our punch downs, press it with the monkey press, and from there it goes into barrel for malolactic fermentation, after which we rack and return, and then it will spend up to almost 3 years sometimes. So anything between 28 and 32 months in 100% new French oak barrels.
No second fills?
No second fills.
All, wow.
So this fruit is so immaculate and concentrated that it can handle that amount of wood, and especially over such a long period of time. You just get to that ultimate balance, which I mentioned earlier.
And the color is spectacular.
And obviously this wine as well, we don't just bottle it after 2 years and release it. It undergoes a year of bottle maturation before we release it into the market, just to give it time to, I always say, to marry and find itself within the bottle. But yeah, 2018 vintage, it's drinking quite nicely now. Oh, just lovely cherry tobacco notes on the nose.
And it's still fruit driven. Plums, dark berries. And that just carried through to the palate. I like honest wines. Very honest. Starts, whatever you pick up on the nose, there's still that spiciness that's right at the top of your palate. But this beautiful length and integrated tannic structure, I mean, that I like a lot. That stays, got a beautiful length. And just looking at the color there, you can still see that this can easily under well or good cellar conditions go for another 25 years?
I would reckon that. Yes, because like you say, it's beautifully integrated tannins on the palate already, but there's enough oomph in there for it to just keep on going.
I like
and
that.
I think when you go and look at Nederburg's track record over the years, since the 1970s, in terms of Cabernet Sauvignon, and I've had the privilege to taste some older vintages a couple of weeks ago, and just to see how those wines from, I think we tasted 85, 97, 2000, just to see how well those wines aged and the potential that it has, and tasting this now and also seeing that potential. And I must say it's quite humbling and a privilege to be part of a legacy like this.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, in conclusion, we're going back to the fortune cookie. It's up to you what you want to do with it. But we say, what would your message be in this festive season to our consumers using the fortune cookie message? You can read it again.
Okay, so must it be inspirational or can it be something funny or?
The ball happens to be in your court.
Okay. Smile often. Smiling often can make you look and feel younger. So my recommendation to all South Africans this festive season: do make a plan to get your hands on a case of Nederburg Baron, because I can promise you that will make you smile often, and then you will look and feel younger.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thank you.